Hello, my name is Ryan Mullins. Today, I'll be speaking about Buckeye, Arizona, a town which has experienced tremendous growth in the last 10 to 20 years. This has created an interesting environment for the farmers and ranchers that have made their living for multiple generations. Today, my goal is to highlight their story and how they've continued to evolve and add in their value to their community. For those of you who aren't familiar with Buckeye, it sits in West Valley, and when you go west on Interstate 10, it is one of the last cities you hit before you hit the open desert. Before I highlight some of the specific stories of farmers in Buckeye, I'll spend a brief period of time on Buckeye's history and the early 1900s roots and agricultural focus. Then I'll move on to how quickly this area has evolved and some of the challenges this brings. With this context in place, I'll highlight three families who have worked hard to stay relevant in this complex, changing environment. A multi-generational cotton farmer, a dairy farmer using new technology to evolve, and a forward-thinking younger farmer. I'll finish with how these stories illustrate broader trends in the West and lessons about resilience and adaptation. First, let's talk about how Buckeye has evolved from a quiet farming outpost to one of Arizona's fastest growing cities. Buckeye has a story of transformation and resilience. Founded in 1888 by Thomas Newt Clanton, who named it after his home state of Ohio. The town began as a small agricultural and ranching community, thriving on cotton, citrus, cattle, and dairy, supported by irrigation from the Gila River. Pioneers like W.T. Gladden expanded cotton production, and the arrival of the railroad connected Buckeye to Phoenix and wider markets. For much of the 20th century, it remained a rural town, and we'll talk about how this has changed recently. Beginning in the 2000s, rapid suburban growth began to reshape Buckeye's landscape. This has brought both challenges and evolution to the valley. Between April 2020 and July 2024, Buckeye's population grew by roughly 22,808 people, about a 24.9% increase in that period. As of recent estimates, the population is around 114,000. Looking ahead, the city's planning documents suggest a potential ultimate build-out population in the range of 1.1 to 1.5 million residents. The city is still very much at the early stages of its growth footprint. Only about 5 to 15% of its roughly 600 plus square miles planning area has been developed. In the recent past, single-family residential permits were in the thousands. The face of Buckeye has been changing year by year. People are coming for the affordable new housing supply compared to the older inner metro suburbs. Significant underdeveloped land allows for master-planned communities, logistic distribution hubs, and advanced manufacturing. The lifestyle appeal is huge for families. New residents looking for housing outside of the Phoenix core, more space, and new infrastructure. But this evolution comes with big challenges. Groundwater that has supported much of the development is reaching physical or regulatory limits. The Arizona Department of Water Resources has indicated that certain fringe areas are not able to guarantee the 100-year assured water supply, which is required for new residential subdivisions. Thus, housing developments may be delayed or halted entirely until alternate water sources are secured. With rapid housing builds comes increased traffic, congested intersections, school drop-off traffic, and general dependency on commuting to Phoenix or elsewhere. Building out roads, public services, and utilities to match pace of growth is expensive and complex. The influx of family means schools are filling up quickly. Local districts are planning bonds for new schools and campuses, and other health public services may face capacity issues given the growth. Buckeye has roots as an agricultural town, but as development replaces farmland, there's tension about land use change, loss of open space, and heritage. Growth also means suburban sprawl risk, long commutes, dependence on cars, and less transit and city planning adapt. While housing is blooming, ensuring diversified employment to support the population is a challenge. Also ensuring housing remains as affordable as demand rises is a concern. So, where does this leave the farmers and ranchers who are tied to Buckeye's agricultural roots? Let's take a look at the three examples of families who have survived and even thrived in the face of these challenges. Bruce Hayden is a cotton farmer and owner of H4 Farms in Buckeye, Arizona. He was born in 1934 in Buckeye. His father was a mechanic and in 1947 bought the land that the family continues to farm today. Bruce says the cotton industry has dramatically changed since they planted their first crop in 1952. In his words, at that time, mechanical harvesting was just beginning, and they still picked a lot of cotton by hand. But by the 1960s, they had discontinued hand harvesting and had been machine harvesting ever since. The Hayden family farms 7,500 acres in the Buckeye area, including a property west of Gila Bend. The Hayden's 4 children are all involved in the enterprise. Art oversees the general farming operation, Les manages the feedlot, harvesting and marketing of the alfalfa responsibilities, and Hal is active in the family farm. He owns his own aerial application business, and his daughter Holly is involved with the business and in the enterprise. In the early 1990s, WT and his wife Nikki took over the family farm, which had been going since the 1970s, growing alfalfa, wheat, and cotton industry. In 1998, they started a dairy farm with their nephew Dan. Dan's wife Sherry is the office manager, and Dan's and Sherry's oldest son Josh, a 2006 graduate of ASU, came to help his father with the dairy and farm. Dan and Sherry's youngest son, Clint, joined the farming operation in 2014. He helped with the new GPS-guided tractors and land leveling equipment that operated directly off of the satellite. Josh and Clint are now the 4th generation in the Gladden Southwest Valley farming enterprise. Brandon Leister is a 4th generation Arizona agriculturist who grew up on a family farm in Buckeye, Arizona, and grew his first cotton crop at age 15. In 2008, Brandon and his wife Katie planted the first crop on Rocker 7 Farms, and on a whim in 2010 tried selling hay over the internet to combat low commodity prices. Today, Rocker 7 Farms specializes in growing the finest quality alfalfa in Arizona and is a 5th generation tied to agriculture. Brandon's secret is more than just using steam technologies, it's having the right baling scales and good moisture meters. After more than a decade of talking with individual customers, Brandon has developed a precision sorting each bale based on varying customer preferences. His goal is to keep every customer and their animals eager for more. He prides himself on his business as how he provides for his wife and his family and agricultural industry as a whole. So what do we learn from these stories? Despite rapid urban growth in Buckeye, traditional cotton and dairy farms can continue to play a vital role by adapting to changing conditions while preserving their core operations. These farms can maintain economic viability by exploring value-added products or by developing direct-to-consumer sales, farm tours, or educational programs that connect residents with the region's agricultural heritage. By combining innovation with stewardship, Buckeye's cotton and dairy farms can continue contributing to the local economy and community identity, even as the city grows rapidly.
Can you imagine?
Here are my primary and secondary sources for this project. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen.